Hello, thank you for clicking on my link. If you've been on the topic, you'll see that I have made a version of the show Jeopardy in Excel. Well, it was originally in Excel, but then I ported it to Google Sheets, as you can see here. So this is a previous video of me and my friends playing it, just to show you how it'll work. I'll go through all of the individual components of it, but this is what it looks like in progress, basically. It can support up to 7 players, and we get all of us together over Discord to kind of introduce a social element to it. But other than that, I'm the host, and I'll read out the questions, and the guys will have to put in their answers in a box. Those answers get broadcast to me, and then I can mark them as correct, pass, or wrong, and all of their scores get recorded. That's basically the gist of it, but I will go through it in a lot of detail here. Cool, right, so this is the actual spreadsheet. What I did initially was to make it basically a one-player version for my partner and I. We would go through it, and she would answer the questions I would give them, and all of her scores would get recorded. And I realized that you could make this into a kind of a multiplayer experience by making it into a Google Sheet, and then anyone who is willing to play, they can just get on one of these sheets and put in their own answers, and they will all feed in together. Cool. Right. So sorry, by the way, I forgot to mention the user on Reddit that I got the questions from is someone called Sensei CAY, who went through the entire J archive, which is an archive of all the previous Jeopardy games, and it's basically filtered out anything that uses a video or an audio component, and it spits out all of these categories that you can then comprise your own games, just text only, to be able to do this, which is really good. Yeah, so thank you for that. Right, so this is a previously completed game. As you can see up here, we have the categories where my cursor is, and this is kind of like a little congratulatory message here. I'll get to that in a little bit. And this bit here is what I like to call the leaderboard, scoreboard sort of thing. It could support 7 players, but it's also dynamic. It allows you to do any number of players between 1 and 7. As you can see, that this one here is just 6 players. This is an automatic kind of scoreboard. Whoever is first will get made to be first on here. It'll, display it in order of number of points. I'll show you how that works in a little bit. What I've also included in this is a grading system. It's just like a very easy way of determining how well you're doing. The grading system works out how many points you have versus the maximum number of points that you could have gotten by that question. So an S is 100% of all the points that you can get. But then if you were to get the first one right, if you get the first one right, it's an S, and then you get the second one wrong, you've then only got 1/3 of all the possible points, so you'd go down to like a really low grade. But it will eventually average out to something probably around a B, C, or D by the end of it, which is what we usually get, because getting every single question right is pretty much impossible. Right, this area here is kind of like a quick visual indicator of the previous answers that the players have made. So a dash means that they passed the question. An O, it's kind of like noughts and crosses, means that they got it right, and the X means that they got it wrong. Speaking of passing, people who actually watch Jeopardy, they'll know that there is no such thing as a pass. And in fact, the entire game is sort of different from the actual show. For one, the players don't choose which question that they want to go for. Instead, it goes from the first category. You do the 5 questions of all 6 categories in a row, kind of in order, and then you move on to Double Jeopardy. It goes on the the Crow-Yat score, or the Core-Yat score. I can't quite remember what it is, but it's worked off of that for the people who kind of know what that means when it comes to Jeopardy. It eliminates the final Jeopardy score that you can get, and any daily doubles. They're also removed as well, because although it is, it's kind of like a stylistic decision to do that. It means that everyone can answer every single question. instead of just whoever buzzes in first, which is a little bit difficult to do over the internet. Yeah, so it's just a bit of an alternative way of playing. So to demonstrate that, what would happen is I would read out a question, and the player, whoever it is, they would have their own spreadsheet here, would simply type in the answer here. And then that gets fed to me on my host screen, and I can then determine if that is a correct, wrong, or passed answer. Yeah, I'll show you that shortly, as I keep saying. This here just indicates your current position for the player that you are. Sorry, I forgot to mention, this is kind of like your own little player screen here, moving away from these bits here. So that's where your answer goes. This is your current position here. Your name is here. I just have a little drop down for all of the 8 players of mine that we use. This is your score, which is exactly the same as normal Jeopardy. It goes 200, 400, 600, 800, 1000 for single Jeopardy, and then double that for double Jeopardy. This is the grade that I mentioned. This bit here shows you what grade you would get if you were to get the next question, the current question correct, passed, or wrong. Just changes your grade there. I don't think the players use that much, but I just thought it was like a nice little indicator there. And this is a percentage total of your entire possible points that you could have gotten. Cool. Right. We also have this little indicator here. That this is a fairly new introduction. In fact, it's actually not relevant right now. I'll come to that later. As you can see, I'm doing this I'm riffing it. This is the graph down here. This is quite simple. It shows you a running tally of what everyone's score was per question. So it's just, again, a nice visual indicator to see how well everyone's doing and where people crossed over. So like this little bit here, we've got Nat going slightly higher than Ray, and then they're very similar on this bit here, and then she takes it in the end for the last couple of questions, which is good. And this bit here is a snapshot of that player's current overall score. So their current score for this game is here, along with the grade. Their best score in all of the games that they played is here, so that's just a way of comparing it. Their average score over all the games that they played, and their worst score. Their current leaderboard position out of 8, and how many games that they've actually won as well. Awesome. Okay, right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you the... should we go for the... Yeah, let's go for the leaderboard. So this is the leaderboard of all of the games that we've played so far, the dates that we did them, who played and what score they got on each one. And as you can see, we haven't actually done a 7-player game yet. This little trophy here indicates that person won. They had the highest score out of them. That's all automatic, that gets added in via a formula. This is their overall leaderboard, the overall leaderboard for all the players that we've got, and yeah, so their average score there, how many games that they played, which is quite simple to work out, based off of their total score and how many games that they've won. So I'm here, that's me, Jake. I've only done 2 games because I'm usually hosting them all, but I'm quite high up because I've only done 2 games and I haven't had the opportunity to get my score low enough, so it's not that accurate, really. Yeah, so that's that. This all gets added automatically. The only thing I have to do at the end of each game is basically to copy and paste that in, and then that registers it as a new game and put in the date. Cool, right, so the next bit is going to be the multi-host. So this is the multi-host screen, which is what I use as the host, or whoever is hosting at the time. All of the players, their answer gets put into these boxes here, okay? So these are from previous games. So player 1 is Ray here. If I put in test, as if I was playing as her, you would go on to multi-host as the host, and you can see that this is what their answers are. So, if that's probably a good opportunity, I'll show you this. It's just a macro that I use to reset the game for a new game. That does that. I should do it. Not sure what's taking so long. That's because I made a copy. Let me just fix this one sec. Cool. So yeah, that has reset the game. Ready for a new set of questions to be added. realised I need to show you that as well. Okay, right, so as if I was going to start a new game, I would choose the number of players here, so yeah, I just untick them like that, and as you can see, this kind of makes it a bit easier for the host to see the only people that are there. So let's go back to 6 players. Yeah, that just feeds in from the player names and their scores as well. Cool. Alright, so the first one is, the first thing you do is click on this box here, and this would then start the game. So if we go back to the player screen, you can see everything is now reset, it's all blank. I would read out this question. So Paulie Shaw actually wants to get sequestered and gets himself assigned to this, the title of a 1995 comedy. Before this, I'd also go through the categories, etc. So I have the answer here. This is just something that is dynamic. It will show you the current question for each one and highlight it green here in case you want to read from here. Each player then puts in what they think is the answer here. So yeah, so the answer is jury duty. If I put in jury duty here, it's spelt wrong on purpose. Sorry, I made a mistake there. So, and then if I put in jury duty, right, just to show you what I mean by that, this basically compares the characters in the string for the answer. It's basically done by like how many there are and what percentage of them are exactly the same as this one, as the actual answer. It works quite well, but sometimes you have things like, so this one here I'm highlighting here, the Ramones. If someone was to just put in Ramones, it would show it as not 100% correct because they haven't included the into the string as well. I think there is something that I could probably do to eliminate that, anything that starts with A or if, that kind of thing. But that's something that I can add into a future thing. So jury duty here, we've got player 1 who's spelt that wrong. It's given it a percentage correct as 94% because what that's done there is said that so there are 9 characters there and 8 of them are exactly the same as the actual answer, but one of them isn't, which is why it's not 100%, but this one is exactly the same, which is why it's 100%. And then because it's green, it's a quick visual indicator for me as the host to say yes, correct. Let's just put something in for all of them. Let's just keep that as a wrong answer and another pass. Multi-host. Okay, yeah. So as you can see, anything that is any string that has pass in it, because the players sometimes you like to just put something else like, I don't know, something that would have the word pass in. Anything that has pass in makes the box blue instead. Anything completely wrong, as here, I made the threshold something like 85%, otherwise it's green. That seems to work all right. So yeah, as you can see, wrong. These 2 are passes because they're blue, and these 2 are probably correct because I don't penalise for misspellings as they do on the show, because they don't do that on the show for Final Jeopardies anyway. Right, so to input the results of that question, I would simply put in 1 for correct answers, 2 for passes, and 3 for wrong, as this little hint here shows you. So I'd do 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. Yeah, so as you can see, this has then filled that in there as correct, pass, wrong. 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. Okay, hopefully you can see what that means. And then that assigns a point value to those letters that appear there. So that's C, C, P, W, P, W. And so therefore, because it was just the first one, it's worth 200 points each, 0 for passes, and then minus 200 for the incorrect answers. After I do that, if I actually skip something here, before I were to put in those, I would click on this, reveal, and then if we go back onto here, you can see that everyone else has put in their answer there, so we can all compare the answers, which is a nice little feature. Yeah, cool. And then also, while I'm here, the players take different amounts of time, obviously, to put in their answer, and if they do have something in their answer box, this little red tick will indicate that. So if I delete that here, you'll see that Ray now no longer has that. It just means that if you're the last one to put in an answer, you can see that everyone else is waiting on you, so it just puts on a little bit of friendly pressure to keep the game going. Right, so 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. Let's put in jury duty there. Yeah, and then I would click on the next one, which then changes the question, as you can see here. Oh yeah, and this has also updated this leaderboard here. So S for getting 100% correct. They're on F because they're at 0, and then the Z grade indicates that they are below 0, basically. Yeah, I just made that up. This is an indication here, as I mentioned earlier, so if they were to get the next one right, they would maintain their S. If they pass the next one, it would go all the way down to a C-, but then get it wrong, it would go to a Z. These have started to fill in as well. The noughts and crosses board, that will eventually show here. And their previous questions, if they got it right or wrong for the category, are also here. So you can see that these red ones indicate that they're wrong, pass for grey, and green for correct. Yeah, so that's basically how the game goes. I'll show you that in a little bit more detail as I put in these. Just going to put some random ones in. Great. So yeah, let's just pretend that they've done that. The first category. Sorry, I've done that a little bit too premature. Yeah. So under their names, you can see here that Ray got the first one wrong. Pass, correct, correct. No, sorry, correct, pass, correct, correct. And this is just ready for the next one, etc., etc. Oh yeah, there's also something here. So what we call it between our group is if you was to get all 5 in a row, you run the category like you do on the actual show, but we call it bingo. So if I just pretend, there we go. So you'll see the player 1 in this case has got the first 4 correct, and they now have a little exclamation mark to indicate that they, if they were to get the next one right, it would be all correct, and therefore a bingo. So that's just a nice little thing that that happens there. Right. So every 3 categories, I then go over the scores. As you can see, we split up into double Jeopardy at this point, and then final Jeopardy there is just for fun because it doesn't have a point value, as I mentioned earlier. And then this works out who is currently in the lead, sorry, who has won the whole game by the end of it, and displays a little congratulatory message. Okay, right, so to go into how the mechanics actually work, I'm going to show the multi-mex. So this screen is not very pretty at all because it's not meant to be seen by anyone. So, I mean, obviously I should make it neater to kind of help with bug fixing and that, but I will show you anyway. Right, so as you can see here, this string that I put in for the correct answers is here. So this is question 1. This is category 1. That's worked out for something else. The 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3 is there. That gets put into this box here. It then splits it out into the individual characters. And then if it's a 1, it puts in a C into this one here. P for pass, etc., etc. And then therefore this one here puts in 200 if that's a C. If it's a W, it minuses that amount, and if it's a pass, it just keeps it as 0. And that is how the score is done. This here is a total of it all, and this here ranks what position everyone is in there. For the players that aren't there, I have to put in minus 54,001, which is 1 point less than the maximum possible that you could get wrong. Just in case anyone were to do that, because otherwise it shows that player 7 is actually in the game even though it's not, and their score doesn't appear on the leaderboard otherwise. Right. So yeah, as you can see, it's not very pretty to look at, but it's quite simple how it's worked out. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3. That goes into there. Converts it into CCPWPW. I didn't actually need to do this bit. I could have worked it out from that, the 1s and the 2s, but I think I need this for some formatting thing actually, so maybe that's why it's still there. Okay, right, moving on to this module here. This is what works out the, if I spread it to show you, it's this bit here, the kind of predictor. So multi-mex, so it just gets what it would be if they were to get that one wrong. If they were to pass it, it's always blank, and then if they were to get it right, it would be that added to their current total. Yeah, and so that converts that amount into a percentage. So that 400, the max score is 200. So therefore it's 100%, and 100% equals an S from the grade sheet, which I'll show you in a little bit. In fact, let's do the grades thing now. Actually, this is from an earlier version of the spreadsheet. Ignore all that. That's for a depreciated version. This is the grading table. So 0 equals F, and then every 2,000 points it just goes up a segment. Each grade is represented apart from F, that it's just by 2 each. So D minus, D minus, D, D, D plus, D plus, etc. All the way up to S at the bottom. So if they're within the threshold here, this is a VLOOKUP that has true at the end of it instead of false, and then that is how it works out between the boundaries as to what grade it is. Yeah, cool. So that's that. This down here is this is what sorts the current leaderboard scores. So, or is it? I believe it is. Yeah. Okay. So, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth and sixth is there. This one is blank because there's only 6 players. Then this just simply VLOOKs up as to who has the highest score, and that's their name there. And this will come into a module further on. In fact, this is that said module. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So this is not sorted. This is just player 1, player 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Yeah, so this is what is going to sort it, actually. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud on this. These are all of their scores. So, is it this bit here? Yeah. Okay, so. Third, fourth. Sorry, just give me a second as I work out what it is I'm doing. This. Right, something up there needs to be removed because it's no longer relevant. Okay, so because we have 6 players here, which is indicated by that 6, we only need to do first to 6th. Then, therefore, that is a simple VLOOKUP from first. I know I could use index match, but I just find it slightly easier to use VLOOKUP in this instance. From these bits here. So, because we have 2 people who are both first, it just arbitrarily assigns one of them as second, even though they are technically both first. And this is what. So if I do. Yeah, as you can see here, so it's equal Multimex AI 75. When I go back to there, AI 75 is their score. So this is how the sorting works, because it just VLOOKs up against this bit here. Yeah, excellent. That's how that works. Sorry, that's probably that should be fairly easy to work out for the Excel crowd, but yeah, I'm gonna leave that there. Actually, this here is the indicator for if their answer box is blank or not, and this one here is to show you the progress bar underneath their name. So if it's a C, the C goes into this box here, but then it just has a bit of conditional formatting to turn it green and remove the actual character in it. Yeah, that's all worked out from that. Cool. This is the leaderboard mechanic here, which basically gets everyone's score combined. This is actually a really interesting formula that someone on Reddit helped me out with. Yeah, it's a sum product to work out. Basically substitutes everyone's name for nothing, and then the score itself is then added to a total of everything here. So all of Tom's scores would equal that figure there. It's divided by the number of times that Tom's name appears in the document. That obviously gets its average, and then it's just a rank formula to work out what position that they're in, and then it's sorted exactly the same as the actual game here, because it just VLOOKs up against the position. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, there's not that much behind it really. I just put in a lot of effort into making it look alright, which I think has worked out pretty well. Oh, I know what I can show you. So the question display here. So these. Oh no, sorry, it's not that. It's questions raw. Okay, so the plain text that comes from the database of questions that I mentioned earlier, basically again gets pasted into here, and then I've got a horrible lot of formulas that basically get what is in there, and then if it finds that it has, like this italics indicators, it will just remove them, and that's repeated for all sorts. Underline, tildes, sort of accents and that kind of thing, to make the final output not show those. There's probably a much easier way of doing that, but a lot of this spreadsheet is kind of cobbled together anyway. Hide that. Great. One more thing to show. This is the answer checker that I was talking about, so it basically gets everyone's answers that they've done there. Why is that missing? I wonder. That's a bug there. I'm going to have to check because the J isn't showing there. That works out what the percentage of characters that is exactly the same as the answer is there. It's probably not a problem actually. Yeah. Oh yeah, and the graph as well. The graph is something that I'm quite pleased with, and this is another formula I got from Reddit to help me out with. It's this one here, the query. Yeah, so it basically works out what question we're on, and then totals up all of the scores up until that point. So if I were to do multi-host, let's just do a few more of those. Yep. Back to graph. Where's graph? There it is. Yeah, so that has automatically added those in, and then the data for the graph is taken from that. It kind of automatically expands. It's really good actually. That. Oh yeah. So it's not a great indicator for this bit, but the graph is dynamic in that it will only show the questions that we've already done so far. And yeah, so by the time it gets to 60, it will look like how we did at the start. That's pretty much it, really. I can do a more in-depth video if needed, but this is already half an hour. Please let me know what you think. Yeah, that's about it, really. Cool. Right. Thank you for watching. Any questions, just let me know. I'm happy to answer. Cheers. Thank you. Bye.